Welcome to another Coffee with Samso, where we speak to ASX companies and companies with CEOs. And today we've got Craig Mason here from Complii Fintech Solutions, a recently listed company dealing in equities compliance. Craig, maybe just give us an intro to yourself, and let's hear the story.
No worries. Thank you very much for the opportunity to have coffee with you. I've brought my cup along with me. So a little bit of, cheers. Little bit of background both on myself and on Complii. I've spent my entire adult career in the stockbroking industry. I quite often say I spent my entire life in the stockbroking industry, which puts me in nappies as a baby in the industry. But the reality is I started back in 1987 and spent my entire career in the stockbroking community. Various roles, primarily around the execution and clearing side of the business, built businesses such as Pershing Australia, etc. A few years back, got shown an opportunity to get involved with Complii. So Complii is a financial services fintech solutions company. Was in its infancy back then. It looked like a very attractive business to the industry. And what I found from it was a business that was built by brokers for brokers, but it struggled to gain traction in its incarnation back then. I had a good look at the business and thought, wow, this is very interesting. This is about providing trust again to the industry. This is about helping people comply. This is about helping brokers do their business more efficiently, helping them deal with their customers better, but was still in its infancy. So it was a great opportunity to get involved in a business that was in its infancy, that was really getting to the heart of, I'd spent my entire life in broking and seen the challenges in broking. And this actually takes out a lot of the heartache around complying with your license, complying with your membership, controlling your clients and creating that trust again. So that's 4 years ago I got involved in Complii. The focus was to get the business to a listing event. The key was to get it to a listing event for those, dare I say, some of the long-suffering initial shareholders, but also to give it the traction in the market that allowed it to then get the legs that it needed to grow and so forth. So from a history point of view, it was an unlisted company. I spent 4 years building up the client base, working with the industry, working with ASIC, working with ASX to really encapsulate and grow on what had been formerly done with this business.
Yeah, Craig, just quickly, I get the whole concept that it's compliance, and I guess it falls into the category of boring, but a lot of boring business makes a lot of money. So Complii really is basically helping the brokers being more efficient. Would that be a fair comment?
Yeah, look, it is. So there's two parts to it. The interesting thing about the efficiency that it creates is it does create greater workflow efficiency for the advisor and for the customer experience. But part two is it actually gets them back to being able to generate revenue, but generate revenue in a way that is not only compliant, but it builds a network of capability for them around the products that they offer. And some of the key products are less about compliance and more about revenue generation. Things such as the corporate capabilities, the ECM, the raising tools, and where brokers really make their money is raising money, listing companies, creating liquidity. And the product is very strong in that. But where it comes from, where our product comes from, is actually from a point of we're going to be compliant before we start to trade, as opposed to being compliant after we've done the trade. And that's a really important difference between what we do and what the market tends to do.
Yeah, well, I think that's the broking industry for you. But I think also I think a lot of viewers, I guess I get a lot of message from people who have just started trading in the last 12 months, 18 months, but that the industry used to be all about commissions, or mainly about commissions, or at least a big part of its commissions, whereas now it's a bit more less commissions, but more about your placements and taking care of your clients and things like that. My understanding of Complii is that it's making it more efficient, as you say, allowing you to do your placements faster and cheaper. And obviously that kind of thing's going to help everybody generate greater income. Is that sort of the picture that I should be saying?
Yeah, look, it is. You've hit it on the head there. The great thing about that part of the toolkit, the whole corporate raising part of the toolkit is, yes, it's efficient. Yes, it's compliant. Yes, it is very, very pointy end technology driven. But what it really does for the brokers, for the companies listing or seeking capital and the customer base, is it creates certainty through that whole process, and it creates efficiency through that whole process. So there's nowhere to hide from. The advisor needs to use the system to allow it to protect the license. It protects for disclosures. It protects for certainty around the raise, around the actual placement and receipt of funds and so forth. So it actually takes a lot of the manual processes out that were formerly fraught with danger around being non-compliant or being uncertain and not following through. So it is a really fast and efficient way to raise funds for companies and to engage with customers around that. And then part two of what this does is it actually allows for them to do them in much bigger size. It allows them to potentially share those deals across our client base, both brokers and end customers, and ultimately becomes a go-to place for all raising activities that are going on. And just a couple of key statistics over the calendar year 2020. The system was used to raise in excess of 8 billion, and that's a B for billion, worth of new funds for companies across over 1,700 deals. So the fact that it was able to do that efficiently across that platform in a compliant way takes a lot of the uncertainty out of the marketplace. And that's where we see a lot of our growth in our business, is uniting our clients together to be able to do bigger deals and to raise bigger amounts of funds for bigger companies.
And one of the aspects, I guess, from the ASX, and I think other regulatory bodies that are dealing with equity exchanges, is the increase in compliance. We use the word compliance, but I mean the ASX recently, everyone's been talking how they'll crack down on legislation, not legislation, the rules how you work. And there's talk about how the advisors going down the road need to be more accredited and things like that. Do you see Complii going to be something that's going to help, or that's a non-issue?
Look, it's something that's right front of mind for us as an organisation. One of our businesses that we bought recently, Caddy, which is an advisor education tool. What it does is it provides CPD educational capabilities for the advisor base and for them to get their CPD points. And be targeted in the broking industry. So from an educational point of view, Complii then steps into that next part, which says there's all these regulations coming out, there's all these requirements coming out. How does the advisor get educated, and how do they then get some value for that from the point of view of further education for their business and for themselves? So the Caddy business, which is operational right now and has many users from our broking fraternity using it, actually allows them to support their continuous personal development requirements and the educational process, but in a very targeted way around what is ASX requiring, what is ASIC requiring. So we have content around all of those types of things. So I think from the point of view of where we want to position ourselves, not just in the corporate side, not just in the compliance side, not just in the educational side, but to be that technology hub for the overall control of a business, the overall control of the license, but in a way that, unlike other providers, but in a way that is very targeted to the broker's needs, and the broker's needs to protect their clients in an open and honest way.
With Complii, is it more of like, I think I'm getting the gist. It's a technology for brokers, or is there going to be sort of add-ons to technology that's going to help clients make better decisions and things like that. Is there a journey down that side as well?
Look, there is, and that's, our focus going forward is going to be expansion. Our focus going forward is going to be acquisition. What's really clear about the broking industry is that they all have the same needs. Their customers all have the same needs. And there's nothing sexy or proprietary about the kind of tools that we provide. So the aim is to continue to acquire or build technology that is more intuitive, that is getting them back out in front of their clients, that is getting their compliance people back out in front of their advisors, that's actually taking all that grunt work from behind the scenes to create a better experience for the customer, a better experience for the advisor, and ultimately for the firm who's actually supporting and providing these desks for these advisors and all the toolkits that go with it. So we'll continue to, like we did with Caddy and like we've done with Shrewgal and ultimately the Boom 2 product that came with the Integer shell, we'll continue to acquire and develop technology that further enhances the advisor's experience and the client's experience, but again, back in that highly efficient way. And there's nothing, I quite often say this, there's nothing unique about what brokers do. They're all, the broker is about the relationship and the products they provide to those relationships. The tools that we provide, they're not sexy, they're just tools, but they've got to be highly efficient and highly compliant.
Does Complii look at the crypto world as another space for market, or is that just not in the space of thinking?
So look, around the cryptocurrency and around the, those electronic currency structures, the way Complii was built and designed was for it to be able to provide, it's a data storage unit and it's a workflow unit. So you being able to port it to other products. At the moment, it supports equities primarily, but it can support debt instruments. The workflow frameworks and the compliance frameworks around those types of things, it's all there in the toolkit. So the ability for us to port it across not only to potentially cryptocurrencies or potentially other instruments is also the same ability to port it to other international markets that run similar Westminster law structures, for example. The interesting thing around the cryptocurrency space is, given there's no central regulatory body, being able to build compliance tools to support compliance around it means that you're looking at jurisdictional matters that at the moment are still being fleshed out. So it's certainly something that, it's on our agenda in the future. Once there's a regulatory framework that we can build to, given it's all about data collection, we'll be very, very closely looking at the opportunity there as well.
I assume Complii is Aussie based on the ASX. Is it? Are your markets, I'm assuming you can port this into other markets, but are you guys already out there in terms of other markets?
Look, we're not. Interestingly, because it's a compliance toolkit and it's built around our law system here in Australia, the great thing about our law system here in Australia, for good or bad, is that it's based on the Westminster law structure, the Commonwealth law structure. So in a lot of markets around the world, New Zealand, Canada, United Kingdom, South Africa, they run very similar law structures and the way that it operates is very similar to our markets. So we just certainly have portability. Unlike a lot of companies that, let's go overseas, let's make hay overseas, we're looking down the avenue of working with our clients who have overseas offices to start infiltrating those markets through our clients, friendly clients who already know us and use our toolkit and know its capabilities. So we'll have a softly approach to that with a couple of our clients, I think, in the very near term.
I think one of the things a lot of people probably don't know is the ASX, although it's a small minnow, when we used to say when Wall Street has a cough, we catch a cold. But I think that we churn in a fair bit of money, right? In terms of revenue, income, I think it's the second biggest in terms of revenue or something like that. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's possibly right. I'm not sure of the statistics with that, but it is, we hold our weight in the global markets from the point of view of the types of companies, especially when you look at our banks and so forth. Our capitalisation of our banks is significantly greater than that of other banks elsewhere in the world. I think they rank in the top 10. But the other thing Australia's had to be pretty nimble in its capabilities. And one of the things that, having stepped into this company 4 years ago and done a lot of research globally around other companies that might be doing things that we do or might be in the compliance technology space, is that Australia and New Zealand tend to be right at the pointy end and at the forefront of the technology advancement in the financial services industries, because we've had to be nimble. So that's one of the, what I think is an opportunity for us as a company, is that we've done the hard yards for 10 years and we've built it with brokers for brokers. We're not a tech house that just built technology. We're a tech house that built technology capabilities in conjunction with clients and with real experts of the industry.
Craig, what's next? What's the path forward going in the next 12 to 18 months for Complii?
Yeah, so look, just going back to, again, a little bit of the history, we were positioning ourselves to list. COVID came along and I saw that as both an opportunity, but also a very important point in time. We realized we needed to be better capitalized. We realized we needed to be in the listed space to go to that next part to access capital. So we took advantage of the COVID situation to spend 6 months getting into the listed space. Down tools, everyone was focusing on enables, let's just down tools and get focused on being listed. So we step into 2021 with a stronger balance sheet. Our view is that the opportunity for us, not only with our existing clients to grow our client base, but with larger names. We've struggled with traction with some of the larger names in Australia on the basis of the fact that we weren't well capitalised and we were a private, unlisted public company. So being better capitalised, being in the listed space really positions us well to take advantage of opportunities with bigger clients, opportunities with our existing clients, opportunities to acquire. There's a lot of subscale organisations in the tech space who service the broking community and the financial services community. So we want to be at the forefront of taking advantage of those opportunities. We see our existing client base not only growing, but the bigger names working with us to grow our business here in Australia. And then ultimately that gives us that stepping stone hopefully into the other parts of the world to do the same thing again. So this year is very much about consolidating on what we've achieved, working closer with the 95 names we already have using our, broking firms and advisory firms using our platform. We've got some 4,000 users hanging off the back of our platform and really taking that to the next level, supercharging it. Things such as corporate highway, the ability to do deals across our network, to have our organisation sharing deals across each other, to almost becoming a supermarket to the capital raising space here in Australia across our network of clients. I talked earlier about the sheer scale of the raises that we did in 2020. 2021 has a very strong calendar and we want to really help them encapsulate that and grow that opportunity. So I think, when I look back on the history of what we've done, I think what we've done really well is we've built great technology with our customers. We've built a terrific client base. We've got a really good footprint on the client base now. We've now got the capital we needed to go forward. We've now got the listed entity, which gives us traction with the bigger names. So I think we're well positioned in 2021 to really go to that next level and go to that, supercharge that next level.
When I spoke to, the people that were involved in Complii a few months ago, obviously when I heard the story, the first thing that came to my mind was, why are you guys not listed? This would be a fantastic opportunity if it's listed. Obviously, people who are investors out in the world won't get a play in this if it's stayed private. And then when you look at what it does, what exciting, what I liked about it was it's very simple, it's compliance. And compliance leads to easy generation of money from a from your point of view, because it's required. And then when you look at what the ASX is heading, compliance is going to be the big C, it's going to be more, it's capitalized and things like that. So it's almost as if like everybody needs it in some ways. And when you're a proven product, and obviously it's technology, because that's where we're all at, it's sort of almost a no-brainer in terms of where you're going to go. Is that a fair comment, do you think? Or am I exaggerating?
Look, I think you're on the money. One of the things I say to our clients is that it's irrelevant that everyone's got regulatory fatigue. The fact is the regulation train is not stopping. So we sort of, we rub our hands together every time there's new regulations because we build compliance tools for it. And the fact that we've built this across an entire network of clients means that new clients who come to the table, they get that wealth of experience and that wealth of toolkit. And to go it alone and try and do it in-house or to build it themselves, etc., to get the opportunity to stand on the shoulders of giants, because this is what's been built, and it's been built over 10 years, and it's been used by probably 50% of the broking fraternity outside of the top 10 brokers. So it's really got that footprint, and anyone who uses it, it is a no-brainer, to be honest. It's a set and forget. You turn it on. It's not expensive. It's not sexy, but it certainly creates that opportunity for customers to refocus their attention on growth and development, as opposed to tidying up the compliance needs of their firms.
In terms of, how investors look at you, obviously you're a technology company, and over the years we've had the big cash burn chain and stuff. And I spoke to another company just a couple of coffee Samsos ago, and I posed this question, how do you go about in telling these people that, hey, that's sort of in the past as opposed to now, that's like a well-used line,
Yeah, absolutely. And look, that's where I see the opportunity with other companies, because that is the reality. Getting to a point of commercialization and profitability is hard for tech companies. It's a constant growth and development. It's a constant burn. We've been lucky enough that we've gotten to a point now where we've got such a size and scale of a business model, and we've got a toolkit, which is the great thing about compliance and regulatory compliance is, yes, it does change as requirements come in, but the core of it always remains the same, and it's built. So there's no, every day we don't wake up going, what else do we have to build to make this work? It works. So every time there's a new change, yeah, we're going to build for that and we're going to roll it out. But the reality is the core is built. The core data structures are built. The core technology is there. It's in modern technology. So this is, being commercialized and having a significant client base and a fast growing revenue line actually means that we don't become yesterday's darling and yesterday's burn.
Okay. Look, Craig, at that moment of the coffee with Samso, where I ask people to sell their soul, how much of the soul is needed to be sold? 2 minutes of telling investors why buy Complii.
Yeah, I think in very few words, we have successfully put our foot on what I would say is a good client base, a significant client base in Australia. We have a core piece of what I would say is unsexy technology, but mandatory technology. And the rest of the market is our opportunity. The secret sauce in our corporate highway product is it will pay dividends for our clients, which will pay dividends for us as a business. So having put our foot on that client base and the future opportunity is probably why we're well positioned for the future.
I think the key word is a mandatory business. Compliance is not going away, as you said. It's just going to get even more, and it needs to be policed to some degree. Look, viewers, I guess, great to have comments. If you could just have a chat. I'm sure Craig is happy to answer some questions. I think it's a very interesting business. It's not sexy, as Craig says, but it's a mandatory business. And most of you guys out there would understand that kind of concept. Craig, look, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. I think it's a really interesting business. I wouldn't use too highly provocative words, but I think it's one of those businesses where you've got to sit back and think, well, how else are you going to do this, I guess? And revenue would just be a case of time, I guess. I hope I'm correct in that, saying that.
Yep, I think that's right. So thank you very much for your time on that. And you know, I'm always open to field questions from anyone, whether they're investors, clients. We're a very open book over here at Complii. That's part of being compliant.
All right. Thank you, Craig.
Thank you. Cheers.